Welcome to Short Movie Channel. Our film starts with Don and his wife, Moni. We learn that they love each other very much, and their life has been stable all the time with no problems between them. Moni is obsessed with order, so she pays attention to every detail in the house and teaches their kids that they should excel in everything they do. Because of Moni's focus on details, she sets specific times for everything, like meals, sleep, and even time to talk to her husband, Don, which makes Don start feeling irritated by her behavior. Don works as the manager of a large furniture company, which makes their financial situation stable. Moni's father is a partner in this company. One day, Don announces that the company is looking for new employees, so many people apply for jobs, and among them is a woman named Daisy. When she comes for the interview, we see that she is very beautiful, and Don is immediately attracted to her. During the interview, Don learns that this is her first time working in this field and that she has no prior experience, so he tells her that this is exactly what they need and hires her at a high salary. We find out that Don hired her just because she's beautiful. The day ends and Don returns home. When it's time for lunch, his wife Moni asks him about the new employee he hired at the company. He tells her that her name is Daisy, but he doesn't tell her that Daisy is a woman. When she asks him about her experience, he lies and tells her that she has a lot of experience and will be a great asset to the company. We see some of the family issues between Don and Moni because they don't spend any time together. The next day, Don gets ready to go to work, and it's Daisy's first day on the job. As soon as Don enters his office, Daisy comes in to tell him that she made her first deal at work and celebrates with him. It's clear that Daisy is either attracted to Don or pretending to be so to stay at the company. The day ends and Don goes home. When it's time for lunch, Moni asks him about his day. He tells her that it was a great day. When she asks why, he tells her that Daisy, the new employee, made more than one deal on her first day at work. Then he realizes that he had told Moni earlier that Daisy was a man, not a woman. Moni gets very upset and starts arguing with Don because he lied to her and made her think that Daisy was a man, not a woman. Don tries to explain why he lied to her, saying he didn't want her to get upset, especially since he knows how jealous she can get. Afterward, Moni asks him to tell her more about the new employee, and she continues to question him. He doesn't know how to respond. At the end of the conversation, Moni tells him that she will go with him to work to meet the new employee herself. The next day, we see Moni and her husband Don heading to work together. When they arrive, Moni quickly goes to meet the new employee, Daisy, and notices that she is very beautiful. Moni feels that Daisy and Don are creating situations to talk to each other. At this moment, Moni belittles Daisy and thinks she will spend the whole day with them. But Moni gets upset with Don's behavior toward Daisy and continues arguing with him. At the end of the argument, she tells him she's going back home and that he will stay out of the house tonight. Moni leaves, and Don is forced to stay alone at the office. Later, Don tells Daisy that he will be staying alone because of the argument with his wife. Daisy waits until all the employees leave, then enters Don's office. When she finds him asleep, she approaches him, and they end up having an affair. After that, we see Don and Moni's relationship getting worse. Don starts taking better care of himself to impress Moni and also to hide his affair with Daisy from his wife. One day, we find out that Don is throwing a family party and inviting everyone he knows. When Moni sees Daisy at the party, she reacts strangely and realizes that Don invited her. Later, Moni notices Daisy's strange behavior with Don and senses that there is something going on between them. After that, Don talks to Daisy and tells her they should stay away from each other for a while because his wife and everyone around them are starting to suspect there's something going on, and he doesn't want to face more problems with his wife. At that point, Daisy asks Don if he loves her. He tells her that he does. She then tells him she has some good news: she's pregnant. Don is shocked and asks her how this happened. She tells him she's aware of the pregnancy. Don then offers her money to get an abortion, but Daisy is deeply hurt by his words and tells him that she got involved with him because she loves him and that she's not a one-night stand. She refuses the money and leaves, feeling very sad. At that moment, Don is unsure of what to do and feels that he really loves her. Later, Don meets with his friend, Les, and explains the situation. He tells Les that he's afraid of his wife's reaction, as she might ask for a divorce and take the house and kids. He also mentions that the company belongs to his wife and her father, and he's just a manager. Don asks Les for help. Les suggests that Don could work out a deal with Daisy, paying her more money in exchange for her getting an abortion, but Don tells him he doesn't have any more money and doesn't know what to do. Les then comes up with an idea. Don should tell his wife, Moni, everything before Daisy does. Don refuses the idea, and Les tells him that if he goes to Moni and admits everything, asking for her forgiveness, she might not take everything from him. However, if she finds out on her own, she'll take everything, including the company, and divorce him. Don, not knowing what else to do, reluctantly agrees, though he's terrified of how Moni will react and doesn't know how to face her. Don goes home and makes the decision to talk to his wife, Moni, and confess. We see him standing behind his wife, Moni, telling her that he cheated on her with Daisy and that she is pregnant. He keeps apologizing and says he regrets what he did, repeatedly begging her to forgive him. He's terrified of her reaction, but surprisingly, Moni doesn't get upset. She remains calm and asks him how it happened. He explains, and she asks him if anyone else knows what happened. He reassures her that no one knows. When she asks about Daisy's position, he tells her that Daisy refuses to abort the baby. Don is very afraid of his wife's reaction and says he doesn't want her to leave him or to get a divorce. Moni tells him that there's only one solution. When he asks her what it is, she says that he needs to kill Daisy. That way, no one will know, and everything will go back to normal. Don is shocked and thinks she's joking. She insists that there is no other way if he doesn't want to lose her. But Don can't bring himself to do it. He tells her it's impossible to kill Daisy, even if he agreed to it, and that he can't go through with it. He keeps asking her for another solution, but she doesn't respond and leaves. At this point, Don doesn't know what to do. We cut to Murphy, who we find out is the leader of a gang. He's the one who hired Daisy and sent her to trick Don. We find out that she's not really pregnant. When Murphy talks to Daisy, he finds out that Don only offered her $20,000, and he gets furious. He yells at her because he thought she could get more money from Don. He tells her to ask for a higher amount, and forces her to call him. We then see Daisy calling Don while Moni is still arguing with her husband because he doesn't want to kill Daisy. Daisy tells Don that she thought it over and agrees to take the money in exchange for aborting the baby because she found out he doesn't love her. But she wants $30,000. And she won't take any less. She warns him that if he doesn't agree to the amount, she will tell his wife everything, and he'll lose everything. When Moni hears this, she asks Don to agree. He tells her that he agrees to the amount, and ends the call with Daisy. After that, Moni warns him that Daisy is lying and that this won't be the last time she tries to manipulate him. Daisy might not even abort the baby and could ask for more money. She asks Don to get rid of Daisy, and keeps talking until Don finally agrees. He tells her that he's willing to do it. Then we see Moni giving Don poison to put in Daisy's drink to kill her. Don sets a meeting with Daisy to give her the agreed money. When Daisy arrives at the agreed location, she asks for the money. Don asks her to sit with him for a while because he loves her, and this will be the last time they see each other. He gives her the drink and asks her to drink it with him. Daisy drinks and notices that Don seems nervous and tense. She realizes he put something in her drink. She tries to run away quickly, but he stops her and holds her back. The poison begins to take effect, and Daisy starts to feel ill as it kills her. When she dies, Moni arrives and tells Don that they must follow through with their plan. Don takes the body of Dusty in the car trunk and drives to the house. When he opens the trunk to take the body out and bury it, he finds that Moni is still alive and the poison didn't kill her. This surprises Don and his wife, and she tells him to get any weapon and kill her with it. But he is very scared, and it's clear from his wife's face that she is pleased. When Don refuses to hit Moni with the hammer, Moni calls him a coward and tells him that the situation is simple. She takes the hammer from him, strikes Dusty on the head, and kills her. Don is terrified, but his wife takes the body and continues to cut it into small pieces, and blood is all over her face. She goes to Don and tells him to take the body and bury it. We shift to the gang that Dusty worked for. We see Murphy asking about Dusty, and when he finds out that she is late, he becomes worried, but his friend tries to calm him down. The next day, we see the police waiting for Don at his company. The investigator asks him about the employee Dusty, and the officer says they are investigating her disappearance. Don becomes very nervous when asked about Dusty and doesn't know what to say. The officer begins to suspect him. Afterwards, the officer leaves, and Don goes to his friend Les, telling him that he confessed to his wife about what happened with Dusty, and she forgave him, but she asked him not to come near her again. But we learn that Don lied to his friend to cover up any evidence against him. He leaves and walks away. The next day, Murphy goes to Don's house, speaks to his son, gives him a letter, and then leaves. When Don sees this, he rushes to his son and asks him about this person. He takes the letter from him, and when he opens it, he learns that Murphy is watching his wife and that he will kill her if Don doesn't obey him. Don goes to tell his wife what happened and says that he met Murphy, who threatened him. His wife tells him that she will handle it. That night, we see Don and Moni taking parts of Dusty's body and going to Murphy's house to hide it there. Moni asks her husband to wait in the car while she goes into the house alone to leave Dusty's body and escape. At that moment, one of Murphy's gang members arrives at the house. Don, seeing him, tries to call his wife to warn her, but she left her phone in the car. The man enters the house, and when he sees Moni, he attacks her. She has no choice but to stab him with a knife and kill him. Then she escapes from the house, her face covered in blood. When she gets into the car, she calls the police, telling them that she hears a lot of noise in her neighbor's house and can't sleep. She gives them Murphy's house address. At Murphy's house, we see his friend still alive. He calls Murphy to try to save him. Murphy rushes to the house, and when he arrives, he finds his friend dead. At that moment, the police arrive and see Murphy standing by the body. When they try to arrest him, he runs away, and they can't catch him. Later, we see the investigator talking to Don, telling him that they found Dusty's body at the house of the gang leader, Murphy, and another body in the house. He asks Don if they've arrested Murphy. Don says that Murphy ran away, and they can't arrest him. Don is very frightened by this news. He returns home and asks his wife if she had psychological problems when she was young, so she could be capable of killing so easily. She harshly responds to him, and when he tries to hug her, she tells him that if he ever says something like that again, she will kill him. Don is extremely scared and doesn't know how to deal with her. After a while, Moni throws a party at their house. Don brings something to drink, but he finds that his wife has killed their neighbor's dog and put it in the fridge. He feels like he's living with a murderer who could kill him and his kids at any time. He decides to leave the house to blow up the gas pipes, take his kids, and leave so that Moni will explode inside the house and he can be rid of her and her madness. Indeed, Moni ends up in the house alone, and the explosion happens, making it look like a normal accident. After some time, Don leaves the city and moves to another place with his kids. However, we see Murphy standing behind them, watching them after finding out where they are. And this is where today's movie ends. If you liked today's movie, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.